if you have a society where, we'll just say half the young women are at least overweight, if not obese, and then you have another society where maybe that's 5%, well, obviously you almost have double the probability, ceteris paribus, that the women there are going to be more attractive. So
SAR Experience.
Privyet, salud from Chisinau in Moldova. Welcome back to another Vodka Vodcast with me, Connor Klein. This is the SAR Experience, and in today's video we're going to be diving into a little bit of, I think, a controversial subject, and that is, why are there no fat girls in Eastern Europe, especially compared to Western Europe or North America? Now, when I say there are no fat girls, that is of course not entirely true. There are people overweight here who are young, who are female. It happens, but the rate of it is dramatically lower than I've observed and looked up statistically in Western Europe and North America. And actually, I was back in my homeland, Ireland, for a couple of weeks, and it was a bit shocking to see the level of, maybe not outright obesity, but just being overweight as a girl, say between 18 and 30, was dramatically higher than you're going to see here in Eastern Europe. So that provoked a little bit of a thought process in my head, especially because when I grew up in Ireland, people were not as heavily overweight as they are today, and obesity rates were actually pretty low. So it's something that's happened in the last few years in particular, and it's a trend that, of course, causes a lot of health risks on top of everything. Now, first of all, I'm not hating on fat people. It is a personal choice to be fat, and it is a choice. I actually used to be overweight myself, and I was clinically obese for a very short period of my life. Actually, when I started working in a law firm, I just overate, and I lost the weight within 1 year. I did that quite simply by not eating as much. It's not that hard. I did it. I understand some people might get addicted to food or whatnot, have other problems in their life, make them overweight, but it's basically a choice. It's not that difficult to remedy. I did it. You can do it. So this video is not about hating on necessarily fat chicks in Western Europe or something like that. Just that it's a very interesting observation, and of course it's a very good indicator of health, and that is why we want women who are slim and healthy looking, not overweight, and have the potential to have more illnesses going forward. So, why is it that the girls in Eastern Europe, especially between 18 and 30, are particularly slim, and even over that in general? I would say that there's less obesity and less overweightness in general, and especially amongst women. And also, statistic, I looked it up in Ireland, and it was quite shocking, actually, just the amount of the population that was overweight. It's like half. That's pretty crazy. Even amongst young women, it was high. I'm going to have to double check that, but when I looked it up when I was home, it was something like more than a quarter, about 30%. Now that's just like, if you look around I'm in Chisinau, in the capital of Moldova, and it's going to be, just as a random look around what I've seen on the streets here, it's got to be less than 10% for sure, if not even less than that in terms of being overweight, and woman, under 30, between 18 and 30. So another interesting point is that I've noticed on social media, or just watching the media in general, I would say especially the mainstream media coming from the US, you have this movement of fat acceptance, or fat promotion even, that suddenly it's beautiful to be fat. You see that obviously in a lot of magazine covers, where they start to promote overweight and obese people on them. And so there seems to be this campaign that being fat is normal. It's not normal, it's not good for your health, and it's certainly not attractive, especially if you're a woman and you want to maximize your choices in terms of male partners. And that's why we go for women who are slimmer. No amount of social programming with the media is going to change that. Men like us love slim, healthy women, not fat, obese women. And that's just something that I find particularly pernicious in the media at the moment, when I was, thinking back what I've seen over the last year or two. Because as I said, I used to be overweight. It wasn't good. I'm glad it wasn't promoted to me as a healthy lifestyle, for sure. And I lost the weight and came down to a more healthy weight, because obviously going forward, the number of health issues, and of course in terms of being attractive, it doesn't make sense to promote that kind of lifestyle and accepting it. So yeah, you could describe that kind of fat acceptance, especially as a promoter with women, and saying women shouldn't be judged on their appearance, as fat feminism. Read that description of it, and yeah, this leads us into why girls here are not as overweight. Feminism in general, especially third and fourth wave feminism, are not very popular here in Eastern Europe. I do have one video I already did a little bit about differences between feminism and dating between Western and Eastern Europe. That I'm going to link up in the card and below in the description. I'm actually going to make another vlogcast. It's actually going to be the next one up. Why Eastern Europe women are not feminists in general. Why the feminist movement hasn't taken off here. There's a variety of reasons about that. I'll just give you a short overview. Basically, during the Soviet Union, women were more emancipated in terms of their rights to work. So we're thinking first and second wave feminism and right to vote. Then their sisters in the West actually had to campaign for and make huge efforts to achieve. They actually got that. And then the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of communism, women actually got the right to not work and kind of become a housewife, purely housewife. Of course, they had done a lot more chores than normally their male colleagues had, or their male partners had here in East Europe, even during communism, even though they were working. But it's not the same struggle, the same history, and using your feminine qualities or to make gains, either to attract partners or maybe make money, is not frowned upon here. There's no campaign amongst women to say I want to do it myself as much and not need men, and that hasn't struck a chord here. So feminism in general is not very popular in Eastern Europe, and definitely fat feminism is not going to take off, I hope, anytime soon here, just because there isn't that mass, I can't believe I used the word mass, but yeah, no pun intended, of fat women here to promote it and feel like they need to get back into skinny, hotter girls by promoting their lifestyle and saying it's great, you're beautiful if you're overweight. Of course, you shouldn't be 100% focused on appearance in terms of weight, but if someone looks unhealthy, that's definitely a biological indicator that they're not going to be a good bearer of children. And this is actually the main reason why it wouldn't be a good idea to date someone who's overweight and fat. But if that just happens to be your fetish or your preference, go for it. I'm all in favor of freedom of choice. So that's number one. Fat feminism, just a non-starter here in Eastern Europe amongst women or the media or anyone or men who visit. Definitely not going to be happening anytime soon, hopefully. So the second observation I have here in Eastern Europe about the weight of people is actually what you eat in general. Now, of course, I understand, because when I lived in the US, even where the standard of food I wasn't very impressed with in general, I could of course pay a premium price and go and it was Whole Foods was the popular, more healthy supermarket chain at the time in the US. So basically you can pay for that, to have less processed food and eat healthily. And also when I lived in Munich in Germany, I used to spend a fortune actually going to organic food stores, or not as necessarily has to be organic, but definitely that it is less processed, the food, and it's higher quality. Now here in Eastern Europe, there isn't so much processed food. That's what I've noticed. And the quality of the food in the restaurants, because here I basically eat out 3 times a day, is very high for the price. So this is why I don't go and buy in the supermarkets or the markets that often, because it's just so affordable here relative to Western Europe. But even if you were cooking at home, the produce here, when I go and look at the market, it's definitely of a high quality for the average person. Now, I'm not talking about being able to afford, having the money to afford for a premium quality of groceries, like I was talking about my experience when I lived in the US or in Germany. Just the average is going to be higher at that, relative people's income than it's going to be in North America for sure. I'm picking on the US because I lived in Washington, D.C., and I went once to a normal cheap supermarket, and it was pretty much a horrific experience. It didn't look like real fruit and vegetables there at all. Mass-produced, low quality, and lots of sugars, processed food. Basically, people get fatter from that, on average, quicker than if you're eating the healthier, more organic food. So that's definitely a big, a significant factor in my opinion as well. Thirdly, of course, it's just that women are more concerned about their appearance here. It's very unusual to see a young, especially single girl, go out without having put on some makeup, take care of their nails. Their presentation is very important. Now, you can have a debate about whether it's a good quality in general, but as I said, to be over fixated on, especially in the era of Instagram. But in general, of course, men look for look at appearance and visuals first when they're looking for a girlfriend or a wife or a partner or a hookup. So this is more important for women to focus on. And in Western Europe and in North America, you see that it's become a lot more less focused on appearance. Women are a lot more sloppy, especially about how they dress. They don't dress up to go out. If they're hanging out with their friends, they basically look like they're on a Sunday night on the sofa, not going to meet anyone. And I saw that when I went back to my hometown of Galway in Ireland. Just the way they dress, it's just not very appealing. And then, of course, if your appearance is not going to be as important in real life, maybe they're just getting all their validation from the likes on Facebook, or not Facebook, but Instagram, when they put all those filters on it and you have the fake news photos. I don't know, but it's definitely not a high priority compared to here, what I saw amongst the youth in Ireland when they go out. Definitely if it's a Saturday, Friday night and they're going out to a party, then girls in Ireland do dress up for sure and do focus on their appearance. But on normal days, they don't seem to at all. And that's something also I observed in the US. So here in Eastern Europe, definitely appearance for women when she goes outside the door is a higher priority. And that's why they don't eat so much, because that obviously would affect their appearance when they go outside the door or inside the door or anywhere. So that is another reason why women are less overweight here in Eastern Europe for sure. Now the next reason is also a corollary of the previous reason. I'm kind of trying to lead you sequentially with a little bit of a train of thought between all the points here. Basically, competition for good men, we'll say, in Eastern Europe is stronger here than it's going to be in Western Europe, because basically wealth and resources are concentrated into a smaller number of hands. So, and that normally happens to be male hands. So unlike in, say, a very middle-class country where there isn't such, I think it's called the Gini coefficient, about the difference in rich and poor and how unequal in terms of wealth as society is. Countries in East Europe tend to be a lot higher than more, we'll call them, kind of Western socialist countries, say in Scandinavia, for example, which have a more stronger social tradition, or even in the US, which actually does have a difference between wealth and poor, as it turns out, but not as dramatic as being here. And that means basically there's more competition to get those guys. Again, being fat is not going to help your cause at all. In fact, I think it's going to make it really hard to grab a good husband or a good boyfriend, or get the guys that they want. And also, of course, this is the region in the world with, in my opinion, and I have a video about that with my friend Andy about where you can get where the best girls in the world are. I'll link that up in the card and below in the description. This region is the best place in the world for beautiful women, rather. And that, of course, creates a lot of competition between girls. So you got, less guys that they're all aiming for, and of course, lots of very attractive women around them. So, letting yourself go and being fat is definitely going to be extremely detrimental to your chances on the dating market here, local dating market. And of course, they can try and date foreigners, but as I discussed in other videos, not most of the nationalities, it's a little bit different between them, are not so open to dating foreigners, like most Ukrainians are not, for example. Russians, I still have to spend more time there to tell you about it. Belarus, they were a little bit more open, for sure, actually a little bit more open to dating foreigners. And here in Moldova, my impression is they're kind of between the two. And a lot of Moldovans leave the country because they have Romanian passports, they can work in Western Europe, so they don't stay here. So they do, I guess there's like a valve on that market in terms of competition, but you get my general point. There's just a lot more competition. And being a fatty as a girl, competing against all these hot, slim girls, it's obviously going to be very detrimental. So not only is appearance considered more important, you also have that competitive element. So the final reason that I'm going to give you why I see that girls here in Eastern Europe are slimmer than their compatriots in the west of the continent, also North America, is simply that I've noticed an extra emphasis on lifestyle and health here in the last 10 years. Now, you do have that also in large part in Western Europe, but it's definitely something I've seen more. Like, I would say 10 years ago when I first came here, that girls were that kind of classic, very, very slim, but not very toned. The gym wasn't as important, and maybe healthy lifestyle like they just still tend to smoke an awful lot more than in the West. So that's definitely a negative about Eastern European girls. But of course, you can select and vet that they're not a smoker of cigarettes, tobacco. I do smoke shisha, which you've seen on his videos, so I'm not knocking anyone who smokes that, even if it's also unhealthy. But a healthier lifestyle has definitely become more in vogue here, and definitely gyms and girls working out has become a higher priority. And of course, that helps with being in shape and being slimmer and not being fat in general. So it's not just about what you eat, although that's actually the biggest thing from what athletes and dietitians tell me, and people who are fitness gurus, and actually most of it is down to what you eat, not it's important actually how you work out. Of course, you have to do fitness, you have to just doing simple jogging and staying trim and going to the gym maybe 2 or 3 times a week would be sufficient for most people to keep their weight under control, as long as they of course don't overeat. So definitely a healthier lifestyle here in Eastern Europe also adds to the girls staying slim. And I think that actually is also important for girls, and me of also women who also get married here, that with this extra emphasis on having a healthy lifestyle, and it allows them to obviously maintain themselves going forward. And if they become divorced after all later on, then they can go back in the market slim and trim. So there are the 5 reasons that I have thought of myself as being very pertinent to discussion about why we have an overweight crisis, obesity crisis in the West, especially amongst younger women, versus here in Eastern Europe. It's not rocket science. As I said at the beginning of the video, I was also clinically obese for a short period of my time, and the solution was really simple. I just changed where I was eating and what I was eating, and I dropped a huge amount of weight. I can't even remember how many kilos it was. It was at least 15, like really. And whilst other times I've gotten a little bit overweight, I've always just eaten less. I worked out, a little bit more, gone running or gone to the gym a little bit more to correct that. So I'm definitely not, the purpose of the video is not to hate on women being overweight in the West, is kind of to explore the reasons why, and just point out that promotion of fat acceptance is pretty detrimental, and it's not something to be encouraged. So let me know in the comment section below why you think that body positivity, in inverted commas, I don't see it as positivity. I see it as negativity if you're promoting being unhealthy and overweight and obese. Definitely not positive. Let's be clear about that, and it is a choice. I'm also testament to that. Write me what you think about it and why this has been promoted in Western Europe and how you found it. If you've traveled here to Eastern Europe, did you also notice, well, you have to be blind not to notice the difference, but what you think is fueling it, and is this as big an advantage as I pointed out today for the women of Eastern Europe? Just the fact that there are just more slim women. I think it's logical when a lot of people who haven't been here ask me, why are women in Eastern Europe so beautiful? And I say part of it is obviously their aesthetics, the way they look, their presentation. But if you have a society where we'll just say half the young women are at least overweight, if not obese, and then you have another society where maybe that's 5%, well, obviously you almost have double the probability, ceteris paribus, that the women there are going to be more attractive. So it's not really that complicated to figure out why. This is a huge factor. So I'm at the end of another video, another episode of Vodcast, and you have stayed all the way to the end. So I'm guessing that you are interested in coming here for yourself and living the Zara experience. So my question for you though is, what are you doing next weekend? Now you could be here with me in Eastern Europe. That can happen, but the first thing you need to do is go down and click the application form in the description to this video. I have it underneath. Go clip it. Now you're brought to a questionnaire. It's going to be a series of questions. You fill them out. I will review them personally myself, and if I think it's a good fit for us to work together, then we'll be jumping on a brief strategy call together, and we'll be exploring whether it's a good fit for us to work together. And it could be you even next weekend. It's a Thursday, so probably the weekend after. I am actually going to be in Minsk with a client then, so it could be you. You could be joining us in Minsk if you do it really quickly, and a flight to Minsk. So remember, this is a premium experience, so if you're not interested in investing the time and the money into improving yourself and actually being a guy that is worthy of beautiful women and having this crazy travel experience with me and my crew in Eastern Europe, then it's not going to be for you. If you think needing coaching or needing to take shortcuts is something that desperate people do, then you're a little bit delusional about life, because if you think you can do everything yourself and learn how to do everything yourself, you are definitely not on a good path to succeeding in most things in life that don't come naturally, for example, don't come automatically. I'm a good example of that here on YouTube because I absolutely sucked terribly when I started. It's embarrassing. I actually took most of the regional videos down. It was that bad. And I paid people, some of the top YouTubers actually, to coach me. And also on the business side, I have business mentors as well. And I've gone to these really amazing business masterminds to learn all this and to get the shortcuts. So think of the Zara experience also as an experience like that. You're going to be coming here, not going to have to spend years figuring everything out. You're not going to have to travel on your own. You're not going to get scammed, which is a huge problem, say, in Ukraine and Russia, less so in Belarus. And here in Moldova, I'm not really sure anymore if it's a big issue. It doesn't seem to have been a problem so far, but it is the least visited country in Europe. I just don't think they have so many people coming here that the scammers are waiting for them. But there were reports a few years ago, of serious issues with scams here in Moldova as well. So just be aware of that. And of course, you're going to have an unforgettable experience partying with me, going out, just seeing a lot of cool things here in Eastern Europe. So if you're that kind of person and you've listened to me ramble on to the end of another Vodcast episode, then definitely go click the link below and fill out the application form, and we may be chatting very soon. Also, if you have already made plans to come to Eastern Europe, or maybe you've been chatting online with some girls in Eastern Europe and you're not sure about whether you can trust them or not, it's also something I've helped clients on a consultancy basis, so they don't actually come and live the Zara experience. It's just not a good fit for them, but I can really help them with vetting that and advising them so that they're not scammed, so that their dreams are not crushed by some girl online or in person that they've met. I've been helping one gentleman in particular a few times over the last month, and I think it really made a big impact. So super excited to be able to help guys like that. This is why I do it. It's really been about being able to make a huge impact for guys out there. So if that's also you, if it's not the Zara experience you're looking for, then definitely also write me an email at connorklein@zaraexperience.com or reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Zara Experience. So the light is completely fading here in Chisinau. So that's the end of another Vodcast episode. I'll see you in the very next video. It's actually going to be, I think, a very provocative and interesting vlog from here from Chisinau. Also got another Vodcast coming up from here, the one about feminism. Probably going to shoot that here as well. Anyways, I'm rambling on. Do svidania, la revedere, as you say in Romanian. See you in the very next video. Ciao, ciao.
Zara Experience.